Hi everyone. I wish you a very very happy new year to everyone, and wish that you have had a great start to the new year. Let's hope that 2021 is going to be great for all of us and all our families. With that, and on that note, let me start today's live. And Kiran, my first question to you is about this entire aspect of gadget moderation. And today you are going to talk about this in detail. But my first question to you is, how can a parent get started with gadget or screen moderation?
Okay. All right. First, definitely is an understanding that yes, it is important to moderate the way we moderate everything else, like whether it is food, whether it is junk food, whether it is playtime, whether it is entertainment time. So it is important to know that moderation of devices is also important. So now, how do they get started? Is probably having some kind of rules at home, and it can be started at any time. You don't have to say that, oh my god, I didn't do it ever before, so I've just let my children have a field day with the devices whenever they wanted. So should I, is it too late? So anytime where you think that this drain needs, it's having an impact on the child, we should start doing that. So some kind of rules are good. So whether it could be like no entertainment before lunchtime or something. So, or there could be others like sleep time, 1 hour before sleep time. So there could be a couple of rules here. So yes, an understanding of that is important.
Great, fantastic. And Kiran, like you spoke about, to do gadget or screen moderation for a child, it's very important to set some rules or some guidelines, right? So let's start by first, if you could help us and help all the parents who've joined today on this Parent You Live to understand what could these rules be, and you can explain those to us one by one and take all the time, please.
Right. Here, I'm assuming and I'm catering right now to an audience having children below 11 years. For 12 plus, we can have a little different. But yes, assuming that. Ideally, when a child gets up, uh, the child shouldn't have the gadget right in the hand. So that rule has to be there, that when you get up, either you do your physical exercise or you are having socializing with your family, or you are maybe studying something, going out for a walk, or cooking, or doing your chores. So those kind of thing is important. So the moment the child gets up, he should not have that, okay fine, I have some, he or she, I have some time in hand, let me just put that in the gadget. Second thing is that when the child is eating 4 meals or 5 meals, definitely the table should be a gadget free zone. Whatever, whether 10 minutes or whether half an hour's time, that also builds when the family is eating together, even if 2 or 3 guys are eating together, it also builds a connect time for the family who is in any case quite busy with their own thing throughout the day. So eating time, definitely gadget free should be there. Third thing is, if we can have, now most of the societies are allowing a little bit of outdoors. So because the kids have been with gadgets and it has been complete lockdown for quite some time, in some of the cases I've noticed the kids are more comfortable to stay back at home and be in the gadgets even in the evening time. So I would strongly suggest that please encourage your child between whatever time it is, whether 5 to 7 or 6 to 8, whatever time it is, encourage the outdoors. And at that time, even if your child is not going down, it's important not to yell or have any kind of corporal punishment, but just put it as a gadget free time, so that the child is encouraged to go down, because the child has nothing else to do at home. So please have a gadget free time during outdoors. That's the third thing. uh, Fourth thing is, before sleep time, please keep it gadget free at least 1 hour before that. They definitely need it for a good quality of sleep, and definitely for them to kind of get into the mode that, all right, I have to relax my mind. It is quite it's quite unsettling if the child is on a very high paced entertainment and suddenly the child has to switch off. So these are the four things which I will put across as a kind of rules. Yeah.
Thanks, Kiran. Amazing. Those four set of rules. I mean, like you said, starting gadget or screen moderation with these set of rules can actually set the ball rolling, and the parent can actually start with gadget moderation on a positive note. So, with that, Kiran, another note on 2021. Let's start with parents' questions on as that note, right? So the first question which I have is from Kranti, and Kranti has asked this question from Mumbai. Kranti says that my son is 5 year old, and the lockdown, he has got a separate tablet for himself, and of course that is for studies and also taking care of the online classes. But most of the time, her son is on YouTube, and even watches education videos, but then watches other videos also. So how do I convince that you know watching these videos for a limited time is better than watching them at length? So she's not worried about he using the tab. She's okay with that because he is using it for the rightful reasons and sometimes for entertainment. But how can she advise her son or convince her son to not use the tab for very long hours?
Right. One thing is, Kranti, that you may have to put in some checks and balances in the tabs. Where I'm aware about some parents who put some auto off, where after every 20 minutes or 30 minutes, that's a good time. 20 minutes is what generally we suggest, that after every 20 minutes, have a break. So you can have a cutoff where the device switches off in that time, and then you can have you can ask the child to move on to something else. So that is one. Secondly, sit with your child, sensitize your child. He's 5 years old. It's not necessary that every time you have to give him long lectures or you have to be sarcastic or yelling. It is not required, but you can just sit with your child once and you say, you know what, your eyes need rest, your brain needs rest, and your other muscles also needs to work. Young children understand well when you are talking to them in terms of outside world, that is your muscles, your bones, your this brain. So when you are talking figuratively, they understand it better. So just tell them that you need to exercise other muscles, it's time for you to give your eyes some rest, and that's about it. And later on, just follow through the rule. No need to give any other further explanations on that. The child will, once the consistency is set in, the child will be able to follow it. But just give it 2 to 3 weeks of time. He's 5 years old. You need to patiently give that much of time.
Thanks, Kiran. So, Kiran, right now everyone is on chutti, right? We have vacation time, and children are going to get back to online classes in, let's say, another week's time, right? And we have begun the new year. Any tips you would want to give during these holidays to parents to inculcate those good practices, which can then be followed through even when they get back on to online classes?
Right. So it's wonderful when we have the holiday time that has one less excuse for the child to be on the devices. I know a lot of parents who are traveling around. Somebody is going to Alibag, somebody is going to Khem. I'm talking Mahabaleshwar. I'm talking from Mumbai point of view. I would strongly suggest to keep the devices away at the time, even when the child is traveling, is in the car, in the plane, on the train. Please keep the gadgets in where it belongs to, that is in your purse, and let the child just sink into whatever is whether the child is looking at the chai walas, whether the child is looking at the shops, or whether the child is looking at another child around. Let the child sink in the real world. And don't worry, the moment the classes are on, the child in any case is going to lap up the devices. So as far as preparation go, I would rather say take it as a downtime for the devices. That's better. Yeah.
Right. Thanks, Kiran. So I think holiday being downtime for gadgets and letting the child soaking in all the real world, like you said. That being said, the next question is quite on the opposite of the spectrum, and this is coming in from Anuradha, and Anuradha says that my daughter is 3 year old, and she used to show her television with rhymes so that she could pick on rhymes, but when she used to have food, because without that she won't just eat. Now she has started crying and yelling because she's trying to wean her off the rhymes and the television program while having food. She is trying to inculcate that practice that her daughter can have food without the television. So can you give her some tips?
Right. Wonderful, Anuradha. First, I would like to really congratulate you that you are taking this step. It's not easy. I've seen a lot of parents who these days are coming because of the eating challenges. They are using devices so that the child is able to eat, and we feel happy that wow, the child had a wholesome meal. Coming back to that, we have to understand the 3-year-old child learning to eat and learning to savor that moment is also one of the milestones, developmental milestone for the child. And of course, given the child is 3, and the child, of course, is bound to feel the pain of being weaned off something. So it's very natural what your daughter is going through. You may have to give her, be more consistent in it without giving in that, all right, she is simply is not doing it now, so let me just give in for today. You may want to just support her more, and you may want to observe your own self. If you are kind of getting triggered or something, let the child be handled by somebody else at the meal time. Only one line is required for your little child, is that, you know what, dear, we eat and then we watch. Okay. My another suggestion out here, Anuradha, is just to avoid this kind of thing. Maybe you can have some specific time for the devices, which could be like 4 o'clock or 2 o'clock. Have something specific so that you don't really end up giving the device time as an incentive to the child to eat the food. So you can just say, you know what, we watch at 2 o'clock. So in matter of whether the child has eaten the food or not eaten the food, the child knows that, okay, fine, the child feels safe because she's 3 years old, right? So the child feels safe that, wow, I have a structure here. So at 3 o'clock, when the time is at, all right, dear, it's your time to have, let's have the rhyme time. And you turn on the rhyme time and then you turn it off after whatever time that family has set up for the rhymes. So have a specific time for the devices so the child is not, does not feel anxious that, okay, when will I get it, will my mother give it, or is she just bluffing that I eat the food and later on she's going to get busy with something. So have a consistency out there, but then just hang on a bit. 3-year-old child, you'll have to patiently try it for 2 to 3 weeks of time and be positive about it. The moment you yell, the moment you become angry, of course the child's defenses, which are historically in bed, crying, yelling, throwing, biting, is going to trigger in. So you just have to kind of maybe do some breathing exercises here.
Right. And Kiran, Anuradha's 3-year-old has just started nursery classes. So, any tips for parents to be able to get their child to attend online classes, especially 3-year-olds, for typically 40 minutes? So, how do you keep the child, sort of encourage the child to attend these classes, because that is just beginning for Anuradha's daughter?
Anuradha, it's tough. It's very unfortunate that these children have to start their learning through behind the screens. These children, trust me, are not meant to learn through teachers behind the screen. They are meant to learn through sensory. They go to the school, they touch things, they see things, they see another child doing some drawing, they join there. So they are meant to learn like this. So having said that, of course, with the limited options that we have in during this time, my strong suggestion is don't be too harsh on your child that the child has to sit through 40 minutes. Just be encouraging about it and have a bigger screen first, have a bigger screen. It is it's not good for a child of 3 years to be watching everything on the mobile. It's too small to capture their attention. So maybe project it on the TV or have tablet or a laptop, okay, and have it at one screen. So the child is right in front of the screen. And if the child wants to stand, wants to sit, wants to probably take a turn around and then again watch, give freedom to the child. It's unfair even in the classroom. If if you go to any kindergarten classroom, you wouldn't really see children are just seated for 40 minutes. They are roaming around here and there, right? So you really have to give flexibility. Child wants to go to another room, let the class just be there and let it be between the teacher and the child. If the child is not copying it, it's okay. Child has time till 12 years of age to actually be self-driven in learning. At max, what can happen is you can note down what are the things which are being taught, and once the class is over, you can just maybe later on have some kind of in real life it is a 2+1 which is being taught, right? You really don't have to go to the way the school is teaching. You can actually while you're in the kitchen or you are in the bedroom or something, you could just kind of introduce those learnings. So be a little easy. It's okay even if the child says I don't want to watch it. Just turn it off, see what is being taught in the classroom, and maybe add it in the day-to-day lives. That's about it, yeah.
Right. Thanks, Kiran. So, Anuradha, I hope these tips from Kiran really are helpful. Please keep us posted, and do share how does it go for your daughter. Remember, she is going to be one of those first generations who are starting their learning on the screen and not inside the classroom. So, I mean, everything is going to be like really new. So while I understand your worry that your child may not be learning as you would like, But like Kiran said, there's a lot of time for that. And a preschooler who's under 5 years old focus more on creating an environment and surrounding which is more of wonder, inquiry, and all of that. Encourage your child to ask more and more questions, and bring in her room, make her room more and more curiosity quenched. So, for example, bring in a atlas, introduce her to various places on the map, paste the map on the wall or on the floor, and move from one place to another with your child, and take her to those places, and things like that, rather than trying to make uh, everything being learnt on the screen. So I think she will do great, Anuradha. In case you've just joined the Parent Tune Live, I am with Kiran today. Kiran is a practicing child psychologist and a child behavior specialist. She's based out of Bombay. And today, of course, she's joining us from Bangalore because Kiran is away from Mumbai today. And Kiran practices with pediatric clinics, helping parents, children, and families in terms of especially children behavior. So today in this live, we are talking about how do you moderate screen usage and gadget usage in children. In case you have a question, ask us. We are first taking questions on the Parentune app and the Parentune side, and then we'll try and take it from our social handles. Remember, when you are asking the question, please do give us more and more details so that we can get that question answered in detail. So the next question, Kiran, is coming in from Soumya, and Soumya says that, Soumya is from Delhi, and she says that, in this pandemic times where all of us are restricted ourselves at homes, and where we have seen like a total change in psychology and how we use various things, children have also undergone that. And Soumya, hats off. I think that's like really great understanding of what your child is going through. She's asking that how can I, given that, how can I moderate my child's screen time? Do you think I should even try it, or should I just let it be? And of course, if there are any good practices which I can get from your suggestions, I would definitely want to try it.
Right. Great. Soumya, here I would be doing some generalization. I don't have heads up on how old is your child and how many children you have. So definitely your question that should I moderate? Yes, definitely you must moderate. The
5 year
tricky
old.
part with
Sorry,
5 year
Kiran. Sorry to interrupt you. Soumya is a 5 year old and one child, and her question is for her 5 year old.
I got it. So for a 5 years old, definitely we need to moderate it for the simple reason that what we got to understand that what happens when a child is on the screen. All right, the child is getting instant reward. Right, I click it, instant gratification. I click it, something is happening. Cause and effect. That's how children work. If I go to my mom and if I'm going to kind of drag my foot and I know she doesn't like it, how is she going to react? Will she react the same way that she reacted before? Right? That's how they work in real world as well as online. And the tricky part about the devices is that the devices keep giving them that. They click on one YouTube, may not even finish it. Okay, wow, there's another pop-up here. Click there, something else happens. It's like continuously being on a train of being high on instant rewards. Now, that's the challenge with that is firstly, definitely the time of the child goes in out there. Secondly, the time that they should have been flexing their other part of creativity, that time they have less time for that. Okay. And thirdly, where they should be honing upon their interpersonal skills, right? When they are interacting with others, other children, other adults at home, that time goes away. And reading. Reading is another thing which is very slow in pace. It doesn't give you instant, you have to create images in your mind. It is active, highly active learning, but it comes in through a passive mode. All right, so that is another thing which gets hampers when a child is on video and is on devices. So definitely moderation is required, and we have talked about the rules here. If you ask me, for a 5-year-old child, maybe an hour's time or an hour and a half is more than enough, but just have it in a break of 20 minutes each. Yeah.
Right. Thanks, Kiran. Thanks for sharing that. The next question is from Shabnam. And, Shabnam Merchant asked this for her 13-year-old. She says that, my 13-year-old is always on the gadget and is not interested anymore in physical exercise. How can I motivate, my 13-year-old to do some physical exercise and get away from his mobile.
Hi, Shabnam. 13 years old is a big age, and it definitely needs a lot of talking to the child. At the same time, as a parent, you should feel empowered that you can put in rules out there. And instead of saying that, instead of getting frustrated, I've heard parents who say that, okay, ye phone ko pura band hi kar dete hain. Yeah, even out of frustration, saying lines like, okay, ye phone ko jala dete hain, and all those things. These are, your intentions are true behind it, but they don't help. So what definitely is going to help is if you sit with your child and put your expectations, clear expectation in a transparent manner, without any, any sarcasm, without any comparison that, look, that child is doing it, why you cannot do it? Because children are very good at saying that another child is doing it, is throughout the night watching it, why don't you allow me? So no comparison here. So first thing is to sit with your child, talk to him, tell him clearly that, you know what, I'm concerned about your health. And all the study shows, the children of 13 years old are aware about a lot of things. It is that definitely they are not at this age can follow everything which is good for them, but they're aware about a lot of things. So you just touch upon that sense of the child, okay, and tell them that my expectations is that you are spending 2 hours outdoors, while eating, you are device free, and when some party is there, we are going there without a mobile. All right, so these 2 3 things, if you can put those rules to the child, and you can say, tell me what are the challenges you see here, have some open-ended talks with the child, and then later on keep giving him the cues that, all right, you know what, the 5 o'clock, 5 to 7 is what we discussed. Because talking is one, and another thing, Shabnam, is execution. So that time you say, okay, so it's time for you to hand over the mobile. In fact, you can have some physical way of checking in the device. So you have a place where you say, all right, you know what, you check in the device just after your meal time, or while you're going down, this is the place where you check in. So you can have that kind of thing as well. And also increase some things where you are having some talks with your child, where you are, sharing your day with him, so that there is some connection going on in the real world as well. Yeah.
Right.
But
Thanks,
at the
Kiran.
end of the day, Shabnam, sorry, Nitin, yeah, just one last
Go
thing.
ahead, go
At
ahead,
the
go
end of
ahead.
the, yeah, at the end of the Shabnam, leave it to him as well, because he also he's on his road towards independence, right? Independence is not something, Shabnam, which will just happen when he turns 18 years. So he's on his road to make wise and not so wise decisions. At the end of the day, you need to understand what is in your hands and what you really have to leave in his hands. In your hands is, dear, check-in time, you have to keep the phone there. In his hand is whether he goes down or he doesn't go down. So, slowly, you have to be really patient with the little older children. I hope that helps you.
Right. Thanks, Kiran, for explaining that. And Shabnam, I hope this is helpful for you. Sneha Ranjan says this, and Sneha, thanks for joining us back on the live. She again has a 13-year-old, and she says that, my son at home, I try and limit his playtime to 30 minutes, but he wants to play more and wants to post more and play more games on YouTube. And after playing, he wants to post them on YouTube. This is like a newer sensation, Kiran, wherein children play and then they want to post the video of their game. How did they play about it, right? Because this gives them a lot of social gratification actually in their peer group, right? In the gamers. So she's asking this, that he wants to set up games, and he wants to get in more things to do with gaming. So how do I get my child, while he is interested to do this, how do I balance between the video game side of things and between the rest of my child's development? So how do I go about it?
Right. Nitin, did I get the name right? Is it Sneha?
That's right.
Great. Sneha, first thing is, again, your child is older, 13 years old. You'll have to truly ask yourself, what is my worry, right? What is my worry if the child is playing on the YouTube? Is my worry that he's playing on the YouTube, or he's playing on his videos? Is my worry that he's posting it on the YouTube? Is my worry that he is not balancing, doing other activities? These are all different things. So first, you have to really truly ask yourself, what is my worry? What consequences am I worried about? What do I think will happen if he continues like that? For instance, suppose your worry is that he should or should not be posting his videos of playing his games on the YouTube, or maintain a YouTube channel for that matter. Why? children of 13 years old, the first question when you tell the rules, not just 13 years old, even a 9-year-old is going to ask you why. And a lot of time as a parent, we haven't done that homework enough, and we are not ready with the whys, and we actually treat why as a sign of opposition or defiance. Any why which comes with a child should be addressed. So please think more about what is the challenges. Set your expectations clear. If your challenge is that, okay, the appropriateness of the content which is posting, you should talk to your child about it. Be frank about it. 13-year-old child, you can actually be talking about anything under the sun. You have to build up that comfort level. Sometimes when the child talks about certain things, we say, no, this is not of your age. Or if you're concerned about, about the safety, if he's giving his private information out, so you got to understand what is my worry, and then accordingly in a transparent manner share it
Right.
with your child. So I'm sure he's bound to understand.
Right. So, Kiran, Sneha has pointed this out. She says that she's worried that her son is actually setting up like a virtual world for himself. And she's worried because he is now setting up things which are in the real world. He's setting it up on the virtual world and he wants to live through that. And that is her worry, the distinction between the virtual world and the real world.
That's interesting. Okay, so when you say that he's setting up a virtual world, so are you saying that he's connecting with people or whom he has not physically met, and he's
Yes.
making a group of those and playing games with those people all over the
Yes,
world?
yes, absolutely. So, say for example, Sneha has mentioned that he's setting up a virtual gamification of things which are done in the physical world, and he's
Hmm.
spending more time there rather
Hmm.
than doing them in the physical world. Could be hanging out with friends, for example.
Right. So now one thing is he's creating something. Right. I think we should definitely appreciate that he's creating something and there's an audience for that. All right. So probably the time could be a concern here, and whom are you interacting with? If I have to look from here, who are the people whom you are interacting with, right? How much should you be trusting, whether the age that the person has given, gender that the person has given, nationality that person has given. There are a lot of pedophiles out there. Second thing is that balance between the real world and outside world. All right, so that time you can definitely ask him that, okay, I'm concerned. Tell him clearly, I'm concerned because of course it's going to have adverse effect on your overall well-being if you're only on the devices. My concern is only on the devices. Secondly, my concern is on the people. So separate these two and talk to your child about it, and have some kind of understanding that, okay, this is the time you're okay. If you're okay with that, great. If you're not okay, tell again your concerns. No, I think I'm not okay if you are doing it at 10 o'clock in the night. The child may say, I have had cases where child says, my friends only come at 10 o'clock. You may have to say, you know what, this is the rule of the house. So maybe you may have to look for new friends there who are actually there at 8 o'clock in the evening. So something like that. So you have to kind of see what is his concern, what is your concern, and find out some middle ground out there.
Right. Thanks, Kiran. In case you've just joined this live, I'm with Kiran, who has joined us from Bengaluru, and today we are talking about how do you moderate gadget and screen time in children, and how do you do that effectively, given that screen is going to be a reality for us in 2021 also, and children are going to attend these online classes, right? So, how do you start with gadget or screen moderation, and what are some of the effective to dos and not to do? So, Kiran, that brings me to the next question, and this is an interesting one. And this is from Vijay. Vijay has asked this for his two children. He says that I have a 8-year-old and I have a 12-year-old, and I want to ask that should we follow different yardsticks for both of them when it comes to online usage, right? The screen usage. And he says that I have a feeling the younger one is finding it difficult to follow online learning, and the elder one is hooked on too much to the screen. So how do I balance, and how do, especially for the younger one, for the 8-year-old, how do I help my younger child to focus during online classes?
All right. Vijay, there are a lot of small questions within your whole narration. First thing, definitely, what you said about was the family thing. That can we have different rules for different children at home who are at different stages of their development. Definitely you can. Children understand is very well. This happens when a child is 16 years old, then you have another child 12 years old, another child 8 years old. Uh, or even if there could be a grandparent at home following something else, there could be father at home following something else, mother at home following something else. So definitely you can always have that, you know what, you're 8-year-old. It's very interesting that where you want to do things which a 12-year-old is doing, you know what, we got to wait. Okay, there are movies which are PG-13, right? There are licenses which are given when you are 18 years old. There's a reason for that. So these small little real life, there is a voting age, there is a marriage age. So you know what, dear, you are 8 years old right now. So you can have that, okay, you are having half an hour of screen time. Is your screen time over? And if he says, my 12-year-old sibling is getting to watch for 2 hours, he's 12, you are 8. Tell me, what is it that you want to watch in your half an hour's time? So you definitely can have those rules. So feel comfortable with that. Children understand that. As long as you are not comparing. Ideally, when they are siblings, I always say, please do not compare. Please do not say that, you know what, who will be the first one to finish this thing. That becomes like our easy way to parent because they are in a competition. But then it's going to come back to you somewhere that my brother does it, so why can't I? So keep them separately. Second thing which I understood from your thing is that for your 8-year-old child, how do you encourage the child to make the maximum out of his or her online education? 8-year-old, you will have to do few things which you may not have to do for your older child. Firstly, you will have to remind them. The sense of timing is still a little fluid, so you'll have to remind that, you know what, your 10 o'clock classes have started. You'll have to take that load, or maybe have some alarm kind of system. Second thing is that you may have to, because while the child is watching, the child can have that fatigue, or they have seen all the buttons, they have seen all background changes and all, so far it has been 10 months, so they have seen all those things, that novelty and has worn off. So it's just the same screen. Sometimes the teacher's tone changes, that's about it. Very few sense of motivation is there, and even for the teacher also, very few tools are there to keep attracting the child. So if the child says, you know what, dad, I really don't want to attend this class, one rule if you can have in the family, that it's okay if you don't want to attend the class, as long as whatever is being taught in the class at your own speed, if you can just finish it, right? If suppose today this chapter was done, fine, you can close the screen and you can do your own self study. At the end of the day, if the child is able to do self study and is able to do the assessment, your job of academic development is pretty much done. So let the child take the ownership of that kind of decision, that it's okay, I can do my own self study. So that's my tip out here. Yeah.
Thanks, Kiran. I think that's really interesting, giving the choice to the child to say, okay, I will cover up, if I miss something in an online class one fine day and I could not attend, I will cover that up. Here's some interesting question coming in from Divya, and this is to do more with a child who was unwell. So Divya says that my 5-year-old was health-wise going through a challenging time, and she says because that he's been pampered of late. Now she's finding it difficult to get her child to concentrate back on studies. So, Kiran, could you give her some tips to get her son? She's tried the playway method, but it's not seemingly worked very well for her till now. So, what can she do?
Okay, so Divya, what I understand from this is what you're saying is that the child was unwell and probably he was out of the school at the time. He did not attend the school, and you let him just have field time, the pamper thing that you're talking about. I think first thing is, Divya, we should definitely remove the guilt from here. The child connected and the child was happy, right, during that time. So, and the child felt cared, so to speak. So it's okay if there are days where you feel that, okay, am I pampering my child too much? Having said that, now if your concern is now, I do not really have the definite exact definition of pampering. Do you mean that you just allowed the child to be on the devices as and whenever the child wanted, and you allowed the child not to attend the school at all? What exactly is the definition of pampering here? But I'm
So you
assuming that is what.
Right. So, Kiran, this is more to do with study. So, if the child didn't want to study, she was okay with it, and nobody sort of pushed the child to study. So, that's what she means here, being lenient and being pampering. in that sense.
Right. Right. So Divya, then my question is what the child was doing when the child wasn't studying. So if you tell me that the child was actually, doing something in the offline world, very well, the child has still learned. Children need to learn interpersonal skills. Children need to build towers. They learn by many other modes. So if the child has been doing that, great. But if you tell me that all the child has been doing is watching TV or watching YouTube channels, well, I wouldn't call it as a pampering. It's more about giving away. So yeah. So now, if you have to say that, okay, I have to get back the child. 5 years old is a young age. Children are highly malleable. You can just start right away. That, you know what, dear, we got to have a balance, and this is the books that we have, and these are the topics that has been covered in the last whatever duration that it has been missed out. So these are the topics we have to cover. So you know what, we have to sit for 1 hour today after lunchtime. So you can just put some rules out there, and children are very good at following. So even if your child that day after 1 hour after lunch or something says, no, I don't want to sit here, well enough, there is no need to force or something. You have to understand, Divya, early on, 5 years also, that what you have to leave in the child's hand, and what you definitely can keep in your hand as a parent. What you can keep in your hand is, when the child comes to you for an entertainment, you say, you know what, dear, we need to finish our 1 hour of studies, so are you ready to start it now? Let me know. Dad says, no, 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 no. He says, that's fine, let it be, okay. Or if you say, child says that, you know what, I want to go out and something which is out of the day-to-day activities. Out of the day-to-day activities means what? Eating shouldn't be compromised, sleeping shouldn't be compromised, playtime, where the child goes down to play for 2 hours, is what I generally suggest to the parents. But 1 hour, fine. I've seen parents who say, I will not send you for 1 hour if you don't do this. Don't use that as an incentive. They definitely need playing. They learn in playing. Okay. So apart from these things, the child says, you know what, I want to buy that toy, some expensive toy or something. You say, you know what, dear, you know what my expectations are? It's very good you have wants, but we need to fulfill our need. And academic is one of the needs. So tell me, when do we start our 1 hour? Child is bound to come back to you. So you need to understand what is in your hands positively, what you need to leave in the child's hand. Yeah.
Thanks, Kiran, and very well explained. Divya, I hope this helps you and you can get started. And it's okay, move forward and try some of these and keep us posted. I'm sure things are going to get better. Kiran, my question to you is there a correct time to start gadget or screen moderation? Is start the right time to start moderation, or is it okay that you haven't started with gadget moderation and you catch up with that, let's say 2 years later or 1 year later, when your child is already sort of well versed with the screen and the gadget? So what would your recommendation be? And in case a parent misses out these rules of the game or the moderation in the beginning, how can they catch up later on?
All right. Great. Firstly, I would not be here taking up that what is ideally is to start the screen time for the child. What I'm going to do it is, what is ideally is to start moderation. So I would say the ideal age of moderation is right when you are giving the child the devices. Right from whether you are giving a child a mobile, or you're giving a child a laptop or a little bigger screen based on the age of the child, that is one kind of moderation you got to do. What suitability of the device. All right. Second moderation, which is important out here, is the posture that the child is adopting when the child is on the device is very important. The child is just in the bedroom with the internet enabled connected devices. A 6-year-old child is in the bedroom, not a great place, right? And alone without any family members around, not a great place. So if you have to, so start the moderation when you give the devices, ideal time. Have some rules right from the beginning. It's easy for the child, it's easy on you, right? We avoid the time, we avoid the going through the whole phase of having some default behavior of doing things. Okay. And then later on, working on, of course it can be done, it should be done whenever you realize it, instead of giving up on the child's capabilities that, oh, I think my child can never learn it. You should ideally never give up on your child's ability to change, right? It's your child, 9 years, 10 years, 12 years, 13 years. He or she has a whole lifetime. So ideally start right when you give devices. Secondly, even if you have not started, do away with the guilt. for whatever reasons, right? It is, there are some practical genuine reasons as well. Maybe the parents was going through certain stress at the time, maybe the parent had certain other engagements, maybe taking care of some other family members, taking care of job. There are practical life sometimes can be tougher than the ideal life that we say. So don't be so heavy on yourself. When you think that yes, you are ready now and you really want to do something, and you are ready to give the energy which is required towards the execution of the rules that you really expect your child to follow. Trust me, a lot of energy needs, you need to have energy, you need to have calmness in yourself to be able to guide your child into execution. It's tough on the children, it's tough on the adults, right? In fact, it is tough on the children, if I have to put it that way, because they have lesser self regulation and lesser self control. So you need to give that bandwidth to the child. So yes, remove the guilt factor and start whenever you think you are ready, not your child, when you are ready. Yeah.
Right. So, Kiran, Anuradha has asked another interesting question for her 3-year-old. So, Anuradha, very interesting question. I'm going to take this one as well to Kiran. She says, how do I convince my 3-year-old about things which are not good for her, even if she likes them? For example, how to be firm when she uses a tablet or a battery operated toy, especially for very very long hours. So how can she have like a good chat? How could that chat be? What could she talk to a 3-year-old in a manner that she understands?
Right. Anuradha, 3-year-old, we really do not need long lectures, or we do not, they live in on the spur of the moment. Okay. So when you are giving her the device, at that time, you can set your expectation that, you know what, this is not good for your eyes. I always suggest the parents to start from what is your worry point in the child's behavior. What do you think will happen, and tell that transparently to your child, tell that honestly to your child, that I worry that your eyes definitely are going to, because that's what studies show, your eyes are going to have a problem, and you will not get time to do other activities which you should be getting 2 points, right? So we need to have only 30 minutes or whatever time is okay with you. So I'm giving you this, and what is the time? Tell her specifically what is the time right now, whatever time you say, 1 o'clock for that matter. All right, so 1:30. So would you give the device back to me, or shall I come and remind you? Give her choices. Give at least two choices to any child of this age, 2 years old, and let her say, even if he says that okay, I will turn it off, or she says you can take it, either way it is okay. So at around 1:30, when you see and you say okay, your time is up, no need to keep telling her, in 10 minutes it will be off, in 5 minutes it will be off. It's not required. That is just our way to think that I'm preparing my child. You have trust, you show confidence. A lot of times, Anuradha, what happens is we don't show enough confidence in the child's ability to take the right decisions. We say maybe she will not be able to do it, so I need to keep showing my distrust on her. So you have to say that okay, fine, your time 1:30 is over, please give me the device, and you take it away and you keep it away. Even if she does not say, you say, oh no, now this is not good, so I have to think twice, because 3 years old, she's very well capable of understanding this. Is, this is not good, now this does not give me confidence to give you the next time. These are the small little lines, actionable line. To a 3-year-old child, talk in actionable mode on the spur of the moment, not later on, or in the beginning. Yeah.
Thanks, Kiran. So, Anuradha, there you go. Good question. Thanks for asking that, and see you soon on Parent You Live again. You've been like really, really engaged today. Uh, Next question is again a slightly different one, Kiran, and you would also be able to see it on your screen. This is from Shruti, and Shruti Fadnis says that I have a 8-year-old, and he's a cricket buff and a wildlife buff. So he sees that on the gadget, and she's aware that he's only watching those things on the gadget, but she says that end of the day it is screen time. Now I don't know what to do, so I'm sort of a little confused. So Kiran, what would you advise Shruti here?
All right. Technology is here to stay, Shruti. And the more we accept it, the better it's easier it is for us. Instead of we saying that let's keep bring up the children in a completely device-free mode. It's not practical, and it's not even required, right? Even if it's a smaller child like 5 years, 6 years, or even 3 year old, sometimes we just give them the scissors so that they learn how to use it in a manner which is helpful to them, right? Regulation is the key out here, or moderation is the key out here, which is our topic for the day as well. So Shruti, see, we have to see what is the concern here. Again, what is worrying you when your child is on the device? He's seeing age appropriate things, he's seeing his own interest appropriate things. So what is worrying you? So if I have to think about it, so what is worrying you? Is it that he while he's watching the videos, he may land up on other websites as well? That's a genuine worry. All right, so you definitely need to ensure that he is seated in a place whenever he is on the devices on an internet enabled, the door is not locked, he's not having that, okay, I'm having my private time or something. If the child is having private time, the strict rules are important to say, okay, you can, great, you're having a private time, then it has to be away from the world, so the mobile goes out or the devices go out of the room. It's very important. Second thing is that if he can do those watching on a wider screen, so whenever you are also going, or sometimes you can even sit with him, right? That's co-watching. For an 8-year-old, that's a very nice thing. So if you are co-watching with him, it increases his chances of sticking to what he's doing at that time. Third thing is, if your concern is in terms of the amount of hours, okay, so just see if he's balancing the other aspect of his things, if he's able to balance his academics, if he's doing his non-academic reading as well. Maybe you can in fact think about subscribing to Nat Geo magazines are there, which are given by Manorama online. Beautiful magazines. It is all things about wildlife. Encourage your child, and and that's not a push kind of thing. Like when you're on videos or something, from one tiger, like I know one 9-year-old child, right? From Hannah Montana, she jumped to Hannah Montana adult, then to all other relationships and all other videos. It just keeps on pulling, showing you different things. Subscribing to a wildlife magazines is great. The child can just and the child is actively learning other things, the retention is more in that, so you can think about other modes as well. So just try to balance the online and offline, and if he's already balancing it, don't worry about that he's spending, is it treated as a screen time, so don't worry about that, he's learning.
Thanks, Kiran. I think the point which you made today throughout is, is very important to understand for all of us, that what are we actually worried about? Do we understand what are we worried about our child's screen time or screen usage? Because once we understand ourselves, then we can have a frank chat with the child, right? So I think that's a great point, Kiran. Thanks for bringing that up. The next question is something which I was even itching to ask you, and that there are parents who have already started asking those questions. So this is from Charandeep, and Charandeep says that in terms of getting abusive towards gadgets, when the child starts doing that, what do we do? Which means here is that when they ask the child to leave the gadget, the child gets to start back talking or using really swear words. How does the parent handle the situation at that point?
Right. Charandeep, this is a very, very practical scenario that you have asked for, and I'm glad you asked that, because it's easy to say that, okay, follow these rules, but when the child is reacting or responding, how do we handle that? That's more important, so to speak, for a parent to get a confidence that, yes, we can do it. So now, like any no, even to a toddler, a 2-year-old child, when you say a no, they are bound to throw tantrums. All right, they are bound to have their meltdowns. Even if to a 13-year-old, if you say that no, it's bound to have it's bound to touch the child's inbuilt defenses. Some children are going to stop talking, sulk. Some children are going to fight back in whatever ways that they have done it. You may have to be a little, Charandeep, you may have to be a little more observant about your child in terms of how is he or she, reacting in other sphere as well. Maybe it could actually be some kind of behavioral challenges where the child is finding it difficult to take a no, or finding it difficult to follow a particular rule. I wouldn't say retaliate if a child says abusive words or is physically pushing or throwing things. I would say stick to the natural consequences which happen. and stick to what you think is in your hand. But again, when I'm giving you some tips on how to handle it, I would again say, first observe that maybe the child is getting aggressive in other spheres of life as well. You will see that behavior in other aspects also, whether it is in the friendships, whether it is in terms of eating habits, right? So the behavior would be seen. It is just that maybe the child is on devices for longer. When you're taking it away, the child is showing that. So it could be the way he has built his defenses and coping mechanism. So then addressing that is a different it's a different topic. So but be sensitive to that, be supportive to the child, and think about some natural consequences. For example, if the child threw something and it broke, okay, be a little slow in reacting to that. Maybe let the thing hang around there. Maybe have things like, once the child is cooled down, you have also cooled down. Next day, with parenting, take some more time, be a little slow. So next day, maybe you can have some things that, you know what, that thing is broken, now we got to compensate for that. So your pocket money or your next thing which we are going to buy, have some, think about, where is it paining, where is it his behavior paining. It could also be that you call me whatever name, stupid, you call me, or you call me, there could be any words. These days children are aware about a lot of strong words, which in parents' definition are, oh my goodness, right? They have a lot of influences. So think about it. What is it? You can say, I didn't really appreciate that. This was very hurting. Is there a way? I'm wondering if is there a way you can compensate for it? Whatever it is, be more open. The older the child, the more open you can be with the child.
Thanks, Kiran. So, like you were talking about, the entire bit of what can parents do. I think there's also this demarcation between age group of child, right? So, like
Yes.
Vijay had asked this question, Kiran, right? So, would you want to give, some tips for, gadget moderation first, Kiran, for 4 to 7 year old, like children who are perhaps just starting to get on the gadget or the screen first time for their classes, right? So that as one, and then we can also go on to then tips for gadget moderation for 7 to 11 years old. You could start with 4 to 7.
Right. 4 to 7 is what we would say preschool and little primary kind of children. I would say that those children really do not need online mode of socially interacting with their friends. Wherever possible, avoid. They love the sticker things and emoticons. So they will say, okay, mama, give me this. I'll WhatsApp this. I'll WhatsApp that. Avoid. I would say avoid that. Encourage more of, okay, let's pick up the phone and talk. Or best thing for 4 to 7 is let's meet up. So if you can have small kind of friends who are also observing the social distancing, and you can have that home, you go there to the home, or they come here. If you ask me how much screen time they need, which is in private space, that is where they are having their own screen and nobody is watching them. I would suggest they really do not need that. All the information, all the knowledge that they need is already there in the books. Encourage more of reading the books. That wouldn't happen just like that. That would only happen when they have free time, when they come to you and they tell you, mama, I'm getting bored. Right? So don't take that I'm getting bored as a thing that I need to give something to my child so that the child is is busy again. Surround the child, will go with the child to the bookstores, buy some things, keep them cheap. If you buy a 500,000 rupees books and the child is tearing it, 4 to 7, it's a young age, is going to scribble it, let that not pay in your pocket. So reading is a very good habit. Encourage that. Create an environment where the child does it. Maybe when you are going to sleep or something, at that time, bedtime stories. When you are eating, some stories. Be more communicative, because once they are like 8, 9, 10, 11, the peer influence is going to increase. You really want that their childhood foundation is strong enough and they are more connected to the real world than the online world. Don't be in a hurry to give them the devices that other children are learning it. So will my child lose out on something? Devices are something they're going to catch up very soon. So if you are following it, if you are giving devices to a child because other child is getting it, that should not be a reason. If your child needs it for the school or something, then that should be the thing. And encourage for 4 to 7 co-watching. Maybe you have some 1 hour's time or half an hour's time in the evenings, or after lunch or something, where you guys just sit down and watching some things, right? Watching some videos, Ben and Holly, Peppa Pig, all sorts of things. Maybe even Chanakya. right? Ramayan. There's so many good thing about internet. That's why I say you cannot fight with the technology. You can moderate it, you can regulate it, you can use it for your own advantage. Maybe showing some national geography videos to the child, they're going to lap it up. And co-watching, it also builds your connect. 4 to 7 is a beautiful time when you can create your connect, which is going to help the child when the child is 12 plus. All right, so that's about 4 to 7. Now, 7 to 11, it's a little older age. You may have to give a little more time to the child when they are on their own with the devices. Try to have a place which is a public, like living room or something, and that's where they access the devices from. uh, Avoid the scenarios where the child says, oh, you go away, I'm not comfortable when you sit around me. Sit with the child comfortably. Truly feel as a parent that I have the right to know what my child is doing. All right, sometimes children learn, they read Wimpy Kids, you can't stop them, right? Or they watch Doraemons or something. Okay, parents are like this, they get all sorts of little bit narrations that parent is, and they will use those words very nicely to you. You are being pushy, you are pushover, all those things. But just truly believe, calmly sit down with the child and say, what do you think is the challenge if I sit here? I would like to know what my child is doing. I'm your guardian. Let your child speak about it, but do not take it, my child does not like it, so I will not do it. No, if it is good for the child, stick to it in a calm manner, and in a manner where you are asking a child to speak more. Okay, so firstly, have the devices in the open area. Secondly, have some kind of rules, as we talked about it before. Meal time free and morning time, be let it be something else which is offline, and later on do have those kind of rules. They are very good. If you start it from the beginning, the children are capable to handle it. And if the child is using the devices even to make WhatsApp groups and all, you can encourage that. But again, as I said, what is the problem? The problem is 7 to 11 children are very conscious. Slowly they are building their moving towards body consciousness and image consciousness. And one line from a friend, and if the other friend does not reply, they keep sending hi, 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 hi. So this is also a good time where you set some internet etiquettes, moderate it, regulate it, because children need to learn from right source, that is you. So you say, you know what, dear, once you send a message, observe what they're doing, right? Be connected what they're doing on the online. It's not just about, oh, devices are bad. See what they're doing. So if the child has written hi once, and the child, you notice the child has written hi 5 times, after every 1 hour to the friend, my friend is not replying. They want instant reply, right? The way it happens in real world. If you go to the real world, say hi to someone, they are going to reply. But in online, what is going to happen? Child is doing something else. Sensitize the child how to use it. You know what, dear? The etiquettes are, once you written a hi, you have to wait for the response, or you call up your friend. Encourage more calling and physical meet. But then, of course, this is a beautiful age, 7 to 11, where you are able to set some rules which will help the child once the child is a little older. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Kiran. The next question is from Pinky, and Pinky says, our child keeps playing games in the computer and throughout the day, and there is a solution. So he starts to take more interest part in studies and in curriculum activities. So my question is that how do we get my child off the computer, because he is almost all the time on the computer, and sometimes it is about studies, so, and sometimes about playing games, and whenever we say then he says that I'm using it for study. So what do I do?
Right. So that's very interesting, Pinky. Even during the classes also, it happens that when the child is on one screen and the child is open another tab where the child is doing non-academic watching. Firstly, have a rule there that when we are in the school, the way we have the rules in the school time where the child is not reading comics, though a lot of us have done it, sitting on the back bench and reading comics hidden in the books. But still, as a parent, you want to keep telling your child to do the right things. So you say, tell me what would have happened, bring them back to the real world. What would have happened here if you would have been in the school and you would have been reading comic when the teacher is telling you this? The child, either teacher will ask you to go out of the room, or the teacher will take the book away from you, whatever, right? So that if you have these kind of talks with your child, it's going to connect better to him. He will keep getting the sense that online and offline, it is not that I need to have a different persona for offline world, because somewhere children do feel a little get a sense of a distance when they are through the devices when they're talking. Their behavior could be a little different. So that's where you have to bring the sync in, that whatever are the etiquettes which we follow in the school, we follow here. So you know what, dear, if I see that you are on your non-academic things, your device will be taken away for that class and you can do your self-study. Have some consequences, small consequences, not very big, that for 2 days or for 3 days we are not going to give you the devices at all, because that's not practical. Right, it falls through when the next day he has an assessment or something and you are as a parent in pain that my child shouldn't lose out on the assessment, you're going to give the device, so it's going to fall flat. Think through the consequences. Sometimes as a parent we are in a hurry that okay, I have to tell the child right then and there. Just if you're not ready, just tell the child, okay, this was not fair, you broke my trust. Children generally after 6 years or something have put big value to the trust. My parent doesn't trust, you've broken my trust. I'll still think about what the consequences should be to it, but for now please consider on your school. If that is what your rule is, if your rule was your school will you will not attend that class for that day, just say please close it off and you do your self study. But stick to your consequences, think through the consequences, stick to it. And as I said, when you are even as an adult, right, when you have recipes, when you're seeing through the recipes, this is how you should cook, right? And when you have to do it in the real world, it's more painful. So it is but natural for a child to be spending more things on the devices, because as I said, that instant thing, that continuous reward thing, the red pop-ups, blue stars, they are bound to happen. But as a parent, you will have to create an environment where you have rules where the child has free time.
Right, right. Thanks, Kiran, for that. So, brings me to the next question, Kiran, and this is, more so, an ode to what a parent goes through when bringing in any rules of the game. Like we've been talking about, how to go about gadget moderation. Now, what happens when a parent does this? Could be from family to family, child to child, age group to age group, could be very different, right? So, can you tell us top three not to do's for parents while they are doing gadget moderation or screen moderation? Things which they should not do, they should avoid doing.
Right. So as far as devices go, I would say again, it's a little age specific, but generally I would say any kind of corporal punishment, right? It never helps a child. If you say that, okay, you hit the child saying that, okay, you did it again. I told you 10 times you did not do it. So charak karke we hit again. Any kind of corporal punishment is never going to help. Secondly, what is not going to help the child is snatching the devices away and completely having no. So you are not going to, we are completely off the devices now. It's going to help it, because we really truly have to kind of balance in today's world. And the child, earlier the child learns the moderation and a responsible uses of these devices, the better it is, right? Just imagine the habits which are built in early on, the tastes. Sometimes we think that habits which are online are different from the habits like taste for the food, okay, and the way the child interacts with others, interpersonal skills. This is also one of the skills that the child needs to learn. All right, so please, taking the devices completely away as a knee-jerk reaction. You could do it as a part of the family thing, like you say, okay, fine, from today onwards we just want to go TV free, all of us, not because of the child but all of us. Those are different kind of thing, but just as a knee-jerk reaction, let's avoid that. All right, and the third thing is taking some on the spur kind of, like for example, if the child is in the class or something, and I hear in the background sometimes when I'm with my children. So if you're just kind of making the child saying some sarcastic lines to the child, or making the child feel like, okay, when are you going to, or saying some sarcastic that, okay, so it looked like you were watching this video, and you start discussing right then and there, right in front of the peers, even though they are not there in the house. The rules that we have, that generally when you are outdoors with the child, in front of the child's peers, okay, so we don't really make the child feel bad. So don't make the child feel bad in front of his or her peers. It's a very bad practice. Look for a moment where you are in your private with children. You are going to get another chance. Wait for the heat of the moment to go away. Yeah, thank you. These are the three things I would say. Be more positive while you are doing any kind of rules. Again, Nitin, always puts me in fix when he says three things. So these are the top three things I would say. Yeah.
Kiran, thank you so much. I think today's live has been very useful, and you've been giving us very very handy tips, very good tips, and age appropriate tips. And one of the things which you've said, which is going to stay back, with me whenever I'm in that situation, is rather than reacting, choose to give it some time. And like you said, parenting is about, like they say, parenting is about that hot cup of tea getting cold, and it is about that patience and giving it some time before reacting. So I think the live has been very useful, and for anyone who's missed the live in the beginning, I would say, in case you just joined in, I would request you to watch the Parentune live right from the beginning, in case you want to learn how to moderate gadget and screen usage for your child. And we've covered this right from the preschoolers to all the way to teenagers. So if your child is anywhere between 3 years old to 13 years old, Kiran has given some very handy age appropriate tips of how can you get started, when to get started, what to do, what not to do. We were just covering what not to do. And I think these have been some really great and handy tips. Kiran, I would like to thank you from all of us at Parentune. And it has been really, really a great Parentune Live today, Kiran. So thank you again for joining us today on Parentune Live.
Thanks to all the parents. I think, Nitin, we have covered everything right from siblings, different rules for siblings, right from, a younger child, 3-year-old child, 13 years old child. So it was a very interesting, and I hope parents have gained as much. Thank you so much.
Right. Thanks, Kiran. And I'm sure everyone has taken a lot away from today's live. In case you've joined this live right now, I would recommend you to watch this video if you want to learn about gadget usage or moderation for your child. We'll be back again on Monday next at 2:30 p.m. and we'll be talking about how do you tackle stubbornness and aggression in a child. And we'll be doing this with Kumkum, our child psychologist, and this would be at 2:30 p.m. On Monday. So do join us back for that. Remember that you can ask your questions 24 by 7 if you have the Parentune app. You can ask these questions to our experts and doctors, and we are really prompt in answering those questions. Remember, you can also join our Instagram channel. Do follow us there in case you would like to go through our Parentune comic series, which are about funny situations on a day-to-day basis between the parent and child. And this series is something which is getting a lot of popularity on Instagram. So do follow the Instagram channel for Parentune there. It's called Parentune Live. Let's have an awesome 2021, everyone, and let's all pledge our support to each other on the Parentune network. How we've helped each other through the 2020 tough times. Let's continue to do that in 2021. With that, I want to say take care and see you soon. Continue the great work for your family. And remember, family is everything. So take care. See you, everyone. Bye bye.